Good morning, everybody, and a huge welcome to Timely Live. This morning, it's me, Hollie Power, and we're here with yet another fabulous guest. And again, I'm always excited, but I'm super excited to have this very special guest with us this morning. She's got some fabulous stuff to share, just making sure I can see us all on the phone. Yep, here we are. Wonderful. Starting with mowing lawns and lemonade stands, she grew up with a passion for business, which has fueled her drive to become the incredible businesswoman that she is now. Since the age of 22, Haylee has worked to help struggling businesses transform into multi-million-pound organizations, as well as creating her own chain of salons globally and founding the TripAdvisor of salons, the Pamper Pad. Her unique branding and thinking outside the box approach has allowed Haylee to create 3 distinctive global salon brands, targeting the hair, aesthetics, and beauty markets, with all brands being infused with a luxury feel, accessibility, and a sprinkling of New Zealand flavour, where Haylee grew up. Now based here in the UK, Haylee is all about expanding the brand, helping other salons become profitable, and doing it all in a killer pair of heels. Welcome, Haylee. Wonderful to have you here this morning.
Hi, Hollie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. That was a very kind intro. Thank you.
Well, I know. I mean, what more can I say?
You've made me blush.
Oh, good. You'll be matching your jacket before we know it. No, it's all true, and I was excited to have you on board because I think that you will really inspire a lot of people that are watching here today. Of course, when well, you and I met 7 years ago, didn't we? Something crazy like that. And we met at Professional Beauty, and we made contact then, and we've got back in contact again now. And I'm thrilled to be able to have you on the platform because you just have such a fabulous story. And I was going through your website and I was looking at your all of the different brands that you've created, and it actually like put a little fizz of excitement in my tummy because you know, it's very easy to sort of follow what everybody else is doing in our industry, isn't it? It's very easy to just sort of replicate everybody else's kind of brand and go along with the same old sort of pink, white, black branding and that kind of stuff. But you sort of turned it all on its head with your ideas. And I looked at them and I thought, yes, this is what the industry is all about. It's all about really cool new ideas, innovation, changing things, sprinkling it with a bit of personal flavour. Of course, if you haven't realised by the accent, guys, Haylee's from New Zealand, and she's infused that New Zealand flavour into all of her branding as well to give a slightly different feel to the environments that she's inviting her clients into. So I love that. I love it when a business is a true extension of the person that created it. It just makes it so special, and it means that when people walk through your door, they just feel so connected to you and what you've created. It's just such an awesome way of doing business. So I love it. But also you've created the Pamper Pad, which is, I think when we first met, I think we were talking about the Pamper Pad, and it was just as it was launching, wasn't it? How many businesses have you got on there now?
I think it's about 8,000 hair and beauty businesses, like mobile technicians and salons altogether. So yeah, the aim of the game is to sort of, it started in the UK, but want to take that global sort of TripAdvisor of the beauty industry, you know, so you've got trusted reviews and you can find anything anywhere, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so true because it's difficult, isn't it, to go and find somebody that you truly know that their client base is recommending. If you go into some of these other systems, it can be very engineered, can't it, towards who they promote and who they don't. So to go somewhere where it's just genuinely built on the opinions of their clients, and you can see who's got various accreditations and that sort of thing. Really big thing, especially now as we look to reopening in the industry. Guys, if you haven't got yourself listed on Pamper Pad yet, reach out to Haylee because it's a fabulous place to have your business based, and actually to show what you're capable of and give your clients an opportunity to review you. You know how powerful that is in industry at the moment. We've got loads of people watching and saying good morning back to everybody this morning. Of course, if you've got any questions for Haylee as we go through, please just pop them in the comments. I'll be checking up on them and I can present any questions directly to Haylee during the call this morning. And thanks everyone for turning up. Now, what we specifically wanted to talk about today was really how Haylee has built a wonderful well culture within her business with her staff. How many staff have you got across your businesses, Haylee?
It's about 58 now, so 53 all employed, and then I think we've got about 5 freelancers.
That's incredible.
We class them as part of the family.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. That's how I feel about Timely. I feel part of the Timely family. So I'm sure the way that you engage with your communities really helps all of your team to feel part of what you're doing moving forward. So are all these people that work in your salons, or are they people who do other tasks for you as well?
So no, there's sort of like, so between the 4 locations, so 1 in New Zealand and the 3 here, yeah, they're a mixture of people, but mostly sort of therapists or stylists, but also, you know, we've got like a marketing team which sort of look after everyone. You've got bookkeeper, accountant, you know, it's there's a wealth of sort of people in different positions, but they are all united. We're all on the same page, sort of everyone's got the same goal.
Awesome.
So yeah, no, there's quite a few of them, but you know, it's growing quite quickly, but it's just a case to try and make sure that you don't lose touch with them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is what we wanted to really talk about today, because of course you've got this huge staff, which I think for most people watching, they would all agree that to have 58 staff is a big number of people to look after. And of course, the last year has proven testing for people, particularly with staff. I've seen it a lot in our communities where they felt very disconnected from staff members. They felt the staff members have kind of not been that interested. They've been disengaged. Now, of course, you've worked really hard to sort of harness a culture, haven't you, within your businesses? Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit more about your journey, but let's just talk about your team at the moment. How are you managing your team right now, being in lockdown, and of course having some people in New Zealand and some people here? How are you putting that all together?
Yeah, so I think last March was when we sort of had to try and think of like a way to connect with everyone, and I think it was a little bit confusing at the start because you're thinking like, can I talk to these people? Is it against the law? Because of the people were confused about what furlough meant. And then we realized that we can still do training and still make people, you know, better within themselves. So we implemented Slack last March, and it was so Slack, for anyone that doesn't know, is like a communication platform like WhatsApp. Because of what I was trying to do is get people off WhatsApp, because I feel like that's a really personal thing. I don't want to be communicating directly on someone's personal line. I don't think that's very fair. And Slack just meant we could have different channels for different departments, different trainings. So it's actually taken a whole year for it to be sort of drilled into people that that's the platform we use now, because they're so used to using those quick sort of WhatsApp messages. But it's better for their well-being that we don't bother them when they don't want to be bothered, and they can sort of check it anytime. So yeah, so the Slack thing I think has been a big thing for our communication, especially with the salon in New Zealand, and they're actually open at the moment. So it's almost been a bit weird because they can do clients and then they're like posting pictures on Slack for everyone else to see, and so it's almost like we've still got a little bit of opening there, and so you've got a little bit of the excitement on a daily basis, which is good.
It's interesting you talk about Slack, actually, and I think this is probably something a lot of people in the UK don't know that much about. And I know Ryan's used it through various platforms he's on. I haven't actually used it myself, but when you and I spoke initially, you said to me, you know, that WhatsApp, it's kind of like, you know, you can see people and the little blue ticks have come up and it suggests that people have read it. Puts a lot of pressure on both you and your team to respond and to communicate, and then people think, well, they've seen it and they haven't responded, and this can create this kind of slightly off balance and off kilter mindset, kind of, where we start to feel we're being ignored, or you know, or that you know, we've got this pressure to respond and this sort of thing, and that's actually not harnessing the healthiest environment that we necessarily should be building with our staff right now, because of course everybody's experiencing this whole time at the moment at a different level, aren't they? So when you're communicating with everybody in Slack, how do you, what sort of content do you put out there? What messages are you putting into your group?
Well, at the moment, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because you sort of like, I think at the moment we're in this lull, you know, it's now been 2 months and you're sort of like, right, are we going to reopen? You know, we're going to get this announcement. So it's kind of, we've got like a fitness channel. So you're just talking to each other about, you know, have you done all your exercise every day for February? Might have another channel whereby people are posting pictures of when they're little, and you know, just really engaging or introducing people. Like we've had a couple of new staff in New Zealand, so we've just posted people, you know, this is who Matthew is, this is who Kalani is, you know, just quite personal touches. I suppose it's like our own Facebook group as such, and it's just keeping people connected. So even if they don't want to, you know, if they've actually literally just totally switched off, they don't have to look at it. It's totally up to them. But it's just any sort of engagement. I'm always talking. We were talking about Bridgerton the other day, like just, you know, just anything really.
About Bridgerton? It kind of seems to be the everybody's talking about the Duke, aren't they, at the moment? And why wouldn't you? Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that communication that's going to engage your team, isn't it? And it's going to get them interested. And it's not just about work and training, because I think that's what a lot of bosses feel, that they have to communicate out with their team, that they have to be putting out these sort of messages of, oh, have you read this review about this product? You know, or are you willing to go live and do? And that's not necessarily the communication we need to have, because if you imagine if we were in the salons talking to our teams, we wouldn't just be talking about work, would we? We'd be talking about boyfriends and, like you said, about Bridgerton, about what exercise you're doing, about you know, your night out. And we sort of, I think we forget that part of what our business is when we're closed. We think it's all about business. But remember, you know, particularly if you have a younger team within your business, when you're sort of 23, 24, 25, that sort of age group, work becomes your social life, doesn't it? You spend a lot of time with them socially. It becomes a huge part of your conversation. It's where you meet people. You often spend time together at the weekends and you go out together. That's all been stripped away for a lot of our teams at the moment. So it's important, isn't it, to keep that fun communication happening digitally if we can, and not just make it about business. You told me something else really cool that you'd been doing within your Slack group. Why don't you share that with the audience?
Yeah, you're talking about the podcast. Yeah. So I just had this thing, like I wanted to kind of reconnect with everyone. It's hard for me because I'm obviously not a hairdresser or a beautician, so I don't work in the business on a day-to-day basis. So I only sort of see the team, I don't know if they've come in for lunch to our office or anything like that. So I thought I'll just take this opportunity because they're always busy. So now I've got all the time in the world to be able to talk to them. So we've been doing like I'm trying to talk to someone once every couple of days, doing like a call it like a CEO culture and wellness check. So I'm just going through, checking that we're on the right page. Like, am I on the right direction? Like, do you actually like working for the company? Like, how do you feel about the business and the brand? Because if they don't feel that passion and love for the brand, then why would the customers? So it's kind of really important for me to reconnect with them. And then at the end of it, once I've warmed them up, I'm like, right, let's do a podcast. And they're like, what? I'm like, so we're doing an internal podcast, which basically is about half an hour and just introducing their journey. You know, it might have been like a new staff member. We just did the salon manager in New Zealand, Helen, and just explaining who the person is, where they've come from, what their sort of aspirations are, what they love about their job. And I think people have learned an awful lot and they're like, oh, I didn't know that about that person. And oh, it was so good to find out more about blah, blah, blah. It's just been a bit of fun, and yeah, I've actually really enjoyed doing it, and people have been listening to them on their walks. I think we're sort of getting an average of about 40 people listening to the podcast each time, which is like, doesn't sound like a lot, but that's pretty much the majority of our staff.
Huge percentage, yeah,
and they said it just makes them feel connected, so that they're obviously not working, but they still feel they're connected to that.
Absolutely. And having a global staff as well. Obviously, those people who are out there working in New Zealand and joining the team in New Zealand, this is a great way for them to all connect, isn't it? And a great way for you to be able to bring them all together and then to make those individual connections. Because again, you know, like if you're in a workplace every day and you're chatting to your colleagues, you're going to know, what dog they have. Do you know what I mean? What sort of music they listen to, what their fashion style is. But when you're in this situation, when you're all sort of remote from one another, you don't get to find those common connections that help make that working environment really pleasant. So you found another path in order to connect to all those people. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
What's What's the communication like at the moment with regards to reopening? What are you putting in place to help them prepare and get ready now? I know we don't know any dates yet, but we're hopefully coming towards the end.
I think like we've been having like regular meetings, like on a Monday we have like a little leadership meeting or just a chat really, and what we've been doing is we've created a Facebook group, like the Silver Fern Facebook group that encompasses all the businesses, and then I just put it live onto the Facebook group so that anyone can watch it, because it's all transparent information. It's just sort of talking about like what's our reopening strategy, like are we going to have a waiting list, are we going to then call the clients, like there's a lot of logistics that need to be thought about, but I think, you know, third time lucky and all that, I think we're pros now. So we're just kind of, we're all obviously just waiting for that that date, and but I also send them like little snippets, like little videos once every few weeks, just sort of saying, if you haven't heard about the news, some people don't really read the news or they don't want to because it's all quite negative. So just telling them what I'm thinking about. And I think the most important thing for me is I just want to show them or make them feel assured that I've got it. Like I'm in control of it. I know what's happening and I'm fighting for their career, fighting for the business, and just making them feel assured. And I think that in itself has just helped them, which is what they've told me, you know, that they believe in what we're doing, and so regardless of the lockdown, they feel like quite assured, I think, is that's important.
It's a bit of a scary time for people, isn't it, when they're not quite sure what the future is going to bring. And I think that when you've got somebody leading in the way that you're leading, to show them this is where we're going, these are our goals, you know, we are going to be reopening full force. And I think obviously as an industry we get underestimated, don't we, because it's not like a shop that can just reopen its doors. Everything has to be logistically put in place with clients. We have to move clients. It's not just about closing the door, is it? So there's so much more involved, I think, for us as an industry. How are you getting them really excited? Like, are you putting any initiatives in place, any incentives in place, so that when you reopen they're gonna have some exciting new things to look forward to?
Yeah, I think, I mean, they've obviously done a lot of training over the last year. And I think they're at the stage now where just opening is going to be exciting. And I think the fact that it's, we've been talking a lot about our growth anyway, and sort of utilizing the time, I suppose. So I think they feel like we will be stronger when we reopen. Therefore, there's going to be more opportunities for them. So I'm just going to keep communicating with them on a regular basis. That's all we can do. And that first month is going to be hard for the business to get sort of back on track in the swing of things. But, you know, I think with salon owners, you've got to be sort of really aware that, you know, your staff have had such a long time off, and start, stop. I think they're all just on the edge, and because they might think, oh, another lockdown's going to come, and that's really demotivating. So it's just a case of trying to stick with it, keep them positive. That's all I can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know that when news of lockdown happened, you were in New Zealand.
Yeah,
so
I was.
What happened then? Tell us about that.
It was obviously really tough because so I went to New Zealand twice last year. I was actually stuck there for lockdown twice. But that's when I found this salon that I like the look of in my hometown, and managed to sign a lease in the middle of the pandemic. But we essentially built the team over Zoom. But so I went back for the opening in November, and that was literally just in the middle of, I think, the UK had locked down. So flew back just before we reopened, about a week before. But obviously in New Zealand, I'm trying to open up this new salon. And this one was closed down, and it was just really, really hard because you're trying to be happy about the new one, and then it was a very difficult balance to get right. And it was not the sort of news you wanted to shout from the rooftops, say, hey, look, we've just opened, we should be really happy about it, because we all just felt this lockdown really hard.
Yeah.
It's a hard one.
Global CEO problems, that really is, isn't it? But it's incredible what you've built. Now, you've created sort of 3 brands, haven't you, of different salons under your business. So tell the audience a little bit about the 3 different brands that you've created, because I love the concept that's infused into it, and I think they'll love it too.
Well, yeah, I sort of fell into like salon consultancy. Just happened to find a business that unfortunately was financially struggling, and so that one's Cecily Spa, and basically rebranded it, reinfused it, totally turned it around, and yeah, within the first year I think we doubled our turnover, which was great. And I already was a client, so I felt a real connection with the business. Like I think how it's all started is I am the fussiest client ever. Like I want it to be the best. I love a good experience, and I think I go to America quite a lot. I'd been to Australia the year before, to Sydney, to this amazing blow dry bar. So I'd always wanted to do like a hair salon blow dry bar with cocktails and champagne and stuff like that. So yeah, so it all just intertwined, just happened real quick, one after the other. So I acquired this beauty salon. Then there was this idea about this blow dry bar. I was like, I have to do that. So that became Alchemy and I, and now it's more about color, cocktails, community, and then Koha, which is a skin clinic, and that's like luxury aesthetic treatments. And yeah, each one of them has just got to be an elevated experience. I want people to have the same value, a better value, but for the same price. So, you know, I just don't see any point in trying to make it more expensive when you're actually trying to make the luxury accessible to everyone. And I think it also stemmed from me being a really frustrated client. Like I was a very regular client to a hair salon and a beauty salon. And because I was there so often, I suppose, like even just, you know, not every week, like every month, you became like a regular, but not VIP. And I sort of thought, how does that work? I'm a really loyal client, but they're just treating me like their friend, and I don't get this special treatment like the new client will get. And I just think that was wrong. So I just wanted everyone to feel like a VIP. And so the regular that comes in, they get treated exactly the same. And you're sort of, you know, really appreciating their business, and it's constantly making them feel special and important, rather than just, oh, that's Haylee, she's the regular client. I just couldn't stand it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. So you're not a business with VIP clients, you're a VIP business, and you're putting that whole experience out for everybody that walks through the door. And do you plan, Haylee, to open more of these? Is that the goal here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's my whole thing is about scaling. I feel like we've got a blueprint, we've got the staff culture right. We definitely know where we're going, and you know, my aim is what we've done in New Zealand is to pretty much box it up and replicate it. Obviously, each salon will have its own personality, but the team, especially the team, right? That's the most important thing to get right, is getting those good people on board who all know what your mission is. And yeah, just replicate it, because people are loving the brands, and they're loving the customer experience. Obviously, pre-COVID, it was hard here. Having a cocktail with a mask on is quite difficult.
It's very exciting, and you know, I'm massively behind your brands. I think it's absolutely brilliant. When it comes to the teams that you recruit, let's look about that, because I think there will be a massive expansion for people when salons reopen in hopefully in a month or two, and there's going to be a lot of moving around, I think, and there's going to be some salons that really flourish when we reopen, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity. So how have you gone about recruiting your team? How have you gone about finding the right people to join your team that you think will work in your environment? What is it that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think it's we are definitely an extra mile company. Like, you've got to be prepared to dig deep, and I like ambitious people. I don't want just plodding people, you know, just that it's just a job to them. It's got to be a career, and you've got to have that passion. You know, being respectful to others around you, I think is really important. People who show a huge amount of passion in their work, that stems, it makes the client feel excited. Also, like, because I suppose I've worked in a male dominated environment in the past, like, I just can't stand a bitchy environment. I'm all about being transparent, you communicate well, just authentic, you've got to be yourself. So yes. I'm really careful, like, even if someone has the most experience on earth and they're an amazing beautician or hairdresser, if there's like an inkling or gut feel that I've got that they're not a kind person, or that there's something about them that doesn't sit right with me, they won't get the job. It's just, you've got to be a really good human to get a job with us.
Yeah, I love that. And your clients must feel that as soon as they walk into your businesses, because it makes such a difference. And in fact, when I had my day spa, it was very, very similar. We had what we called I won't say the word, an OB policy, because when somebody comes in and they're in that vulnerable environment and they're maybe, you know, taking their makeup off or their clothes off for a treatment, they don't want to have that feeling that they're going to get talked about or discussed or anything. And it's all about them feeling safe and trusting in your environment, isn't it? Because when they walk in and they hand their money to you and they put you in charge of their hair or their skin, or, you know, their aesthetics, whatever it is they're having done, they need to know that they can trust your team. And that comes from having people ultimately with a good heart. Do you think that journey to recruitment, do you think that has reflected how positive your team are being through this lockdown? Do you think that's helped?
Yeah, I think so. And I think they know that we are sort of quite picky with who's going to come into the team, because we care about their environment. They've got to be happy at work. That's just the most important thing. There's nothing worse in life than waking up to a job that you hate, or you don't want to go in because someone's a bit weird at work, or I just can't. It makes me feel a bit sad and sort of anxious thinking that anyone would feel like that. So I do go out of my way to ask the questions, you know, about someone I might not see for a couple of months, but I'll ask the question and make sure everyone is happy. I genuinely care about it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wellness, of course, is a massive buzzword for everybody at the moment, and we're all looking at how we can keep ourselves, our family, and our teams as well as possible. So what sort of activities or suggestions are you putting into place to your staff? What are you sort of putting out there to keep them feeling as mentally well as possible?
Well, I think I think the hardest thing, especially, actually, I'll just say this as a side note, for salon owners now, I think they're going to find the next year quite challenging in itself, because you've had a whole year of all of your staff having time to reflect and think about what they want from life. And now it's going to be up to you, the salon owner, to provide that. And if you can't provide that, or try to at least, then they're going to try and look for something else elsewhere. You know, they've had so much time to reflect about their own well-being that they're going to question whether your company can provide that well-being. So I think it's going to be like another challenge, not just the pandemic. Now you're going to sort of getting people out of lockdown and trying to achieve their goals, I think, is a new challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think about people who maybe have been enjoying not having to work to a schedule, who've maybe got out of practice with all sometimes the physical work that comes with our industry as well, that might find it hard to kind of slip back into that quite intense workload, because it is quite a physical role, isn't it? Particularly for those doing massage, for instance. It's definitely going to be a challenge. I agree with you there. But also, as salon owners, we've all had this opportunity to pause and look at what we want moving forward, as you say, but that's going to apply for our team as well. They are also going to be thinking about how they can move forward and what opportunities there are. So I guess this is a great time to think about how you see your business moving forward, what you aspire to, how you want the business to look in, you know, maybe 6 months, a year, 2 years, and that team need to align with that, and everybody needs to be able to work very closely together in order to make sure that everybody comes out of this in the happiest possible way.
Well,
awesome.
I kind of see it as like everyone's sort of like on that same bus, aren't they? And they're like, at the moment, they're like looking out the window, looking at the grass, looking, oh, I wish I could get outside. And actually what they're doing is they're now assessing, like, is the machine right in the bus? Like, am I going to get to where we're going? What's the destination? Like, is the seat comfy enough? Like, you know, it's all those sorts of things. And I think it's really important to realize that your staff are going to be questioning their own future. And so you've got to make sure that your company has like a real purpose of where it's going. And like, I suppose I've kind of thought about that quite a lot in the last couple of months, about pivoting. Like, all the girls have been trained out, right? They can't do any more training. So I was thinking, like, well, they might not want to be a beautician forever. They might want to go into management, or they might want to, you know, go into our accounts department or something. So we're trying to look at the training for the business behind the business now, which are like, we're going to provide Excel training courses, like how to communicate better, leadership courses, the basics of a P&L, like what's a profit and loss. You know, it doesn't matter what sort of role you're in, because if you want to progress, you might need it one day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And I love that you're making that available to your team, that it harnesses this sort of environment of opportunity and growth, and it gives them a chance to understand the fundamentals of the business as well. Because I do think sometimes a therapist or a stylist might sit in the business and all they see is the money coming through the till. They don't actually understand what goes out in order to make it all happen, or what has to be done to make sure those clients keep walking through the door. So there's so many different levels. But also, you know, we've talked to a lot of our you know, communities about how they reopen strong, but also on the path that they want. And this is an opportunity to grasp that and to portray that out to your team, because you're probably going to find that tons of your staff want to grow and they want to step into a more management position. And these salon owners who've been running the business and want to step away, they might have their perfect people sitting right there ready to step into their shoes so they can delegate and have more freedom themselves if they have these conversations with their staff. And that's really where it all starts, isn't it? Is the conversation and having that communication in place. Haylee, it's been awesome.
What's that?
No, carry on.
No, I was just going to say on that, I think like now's the perfect time to be doing like your annual reviews through Zoom or something, and just finding out what makes that person tick. What do they want from life? Like, what's their purpose? What's their why? What are they doing? And how can you facilitate that? And it will just give you a much clearer idea about where they want to go.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. And I really think everybody should consider using this time most effectively to work with their team to plan how the future looks for them and their business. There's tons of opportunities ahead of us at the moment. So look, it's been wonderful having you here. We've run a little bit over time already, and I thought we might, because I knew we wouldn't have any chatting. No, that's absolutely fine. So Haylee, a massive thank you for joining us today. It's been really great having you here, and it's just brilliant and refreshing to speak to somebody sitting in the position that you're in and all the wonderful things that you're doing for your team. And I'm sure that's going to inspire lots of people who've watched this today. Guys, we'll be back again this time next week, 10:30. We've got Tom Chapman, incredible barber and founder of the Lions Collective. He's going to come on and talk to us all about his movie on Amazon, all the wonderful things that he's doing in mental health in the barbering industry as well. It's going to be a very, very powerful one. So really excited to bring you all that. So guys, have a wonderful Tuesday. Massive thank you again to Haylee for joining us today. It's been wonderful having you here. Thank you so much for your time. And guys, reach out to Haylee if you've got any questions, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye everyone.
Bye.